It's the Fulhamish podcast, your independent voice of Fulham FC. My name's Sammy James. Welcome to the show. Today we'll have the final word on Brighton and look ahead to our game against Manchester United at the Cottage as finally football returns to the good half of SW6. And staying in the good half of SW6 looks to be Rodrigo Muniz. We will have all the reaction to the fact it looks like Roddy is not going to Italy. He's come to his senses. Or maybe Fulham have come to their senses. Who knows? Anyway, we'll discuss it all on the Thursday Club today. I'm joined as ever by Jack Collins. Hello.
Hello, Sammy. How you doing?
Good, thank you. And making his Fulhamish debut, we are delighted to be joined by John Charles. You probably know him better as World of JCC. How you doing?
Mate, I'm great and I'm really happy to be here. Yeah, thank you. It's an honour.
It's all very exciting.
It is.
We've actually wanted to get you on for ages, and but you've got a new podcast, which is partially Fulham inspired.
It is.
Called The Nearly Men.
Yeah.
Which I feel like...
It's so Fulham.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the podcast.
Yeah, the concept was myself and Ollie Thomas, Crystal Palace fan, and based around football not being all about winning trophies. It was pitched to us 8-9 months ago, in the works, launched it, and then Palace won the FA Cup. So I'm here looking for a co-host.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's good fun, yeah.
I was talking to Ollie about this last week, and he was like, I was trying to change the name. We're like, we're not changing the name now. Like, we've done all of this work. We're running with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we could go find a Brighton fan for you to do this with.
Yeah, Brighton, I think Watford.
That would really annoy him as well.
Yeah, I know, it would.
Yeah. Just there's got to be a couple of semi-big teams. Brentford.
I think not Brentford.
We draw the line.
Brighton, Brentford, Watford are probably the other three big teams that haven't won anything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, also, obviously, when we lift the Carabao Cup in March,
exactly.
then it'll be completely redundant, this podcast.
And then we'll just change the name to like the Men or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened at that point.
That'll go down well.
Yeah.
The men who have achieved things vicariously through their football teams.
Exactly.
Let's have the final word on Brighton on Saturday. I mean, what a moment. Rodrigo Muniz. Tell us where you were and your emotions when that went in.
Well, I was gutted. I missed the game. I was at a wedding. So... not yours.
No, good company. This is how
exactly.
Someone has to be at a wedding every weekend. That's the rules of the Thursday
I think
Club.
that's the sign of us aging as well. It's just weddings every week now. But yeah, so I was at a wedding, but obviously watched the highlights. Muniz with the winner. I have a slight inside scoop on Muniz. Equaliser. Felt like a winner. It does feel like a winner when it's that late. But my friend forwarded me a picture yesterday of Rodrigo Muniz fishing in full Fulham kit. I'll send it to you boys so you can put it up on screen. Like 10 minutes away from the training ground, and he's in full kit with it, and I'm like, that must mean he's staying. Can't I just tell him the fishing in Italy's terrible?
Yeah. You can't fish in Bergamo.
You can't fish there.
No.
But no, I mean, I think he just has a different aura to him, Muniz, at the moment. When I see him come on now, he looks like he's like grown into this Premier League striker role. So I really do hope we can keep him. But like I said, I didn't catch the game. But yeah, good result. Brighton just seemed to never be able to get a win over us, which is lovely.
Yeah. I mean, Jack, it was just one of those brilliant kind of like Marco Silva stoppage time moments. Add it to the long list now. Did you see it coming? Did you think there was any way that Fulham were going to get back into this match? I thought that clip of Paul Merson on Sky Sports was absolutely brilliant, where he says that, I think he said Fulham could be here for another 6 weeks and they wouldn't score, and then pan to him about 30 seconds later and he's like, go!
It's just a bit like that. And I think that means there's been an equaliser, like in the background. You're like, okay, excellent, fantastic. Yeah,
he wasn't wrong though.
He wasn't wrong. We didn't look like we were going to score in a month of Sundays. But like, so I watched this. I was doing a little bit of a TalkSport, and they're doing a new show that's basically Premier League Showcase. So anytime there's going to be more than one Premier League game on at a time, everywhere apart from the UK, they're going to have a kind of like red zone football thing. So I was doing a shadow shift because I'm going to be hosting it in a couple of weeks. And so all the games were on in front of me, and I was watching it in the ear of the guy who was doing the shift that I'm going to be doing. And he was like, and I squealed. So I was like, I had to like stop myself screaming because you're like in a commentary booth. And I was like, it was like very, very, but I think this is it. Like it was, especially because the other two games were so dead. So obviously, like all three games are on. It's 3-0 to Tottenham against Burnley. It's 3-0 to Sunderland against West Ham. Thankfully, I was with a West Ham fan, so he was really rubbing in the pain. And so I'd been watching. There was a screen for each game. I'd been watching most of it, and I think there's a couple of bits. I think we're a little bit unlucky on both of the penalty shouts. I think they're both sort of half penalties, and you'd kind of hope that one of them would therefore be given in terms of, just balancing out. And I also think that we were a little bit unfairly done in terms of that it is a penalty for Brighton, but I don't think there's that much more kind of deliberate contact than there is in either of the ones in Fulham's case, right? So you're looking at it and feeling a bit frustrated about that. That said, we were definitely the second best team, only by a shade. I didn't think Brighton created all that much. Most of the chances were us kind of doing it to ourselves in some ways. But it was a really nice moment that it didn't feel like it was coming, but as Brighton retreated back into themselves in the last sort of like 10, 15 minutes of the game, you started to see a little bit more belief coursing through. And, that run from Smith Rowe, I think is really important. Not just because it obviously forces the corner, but actually the fact that he had the wherewithal and the kind of vibe to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to take the ball off that flank. I'm going to just skirt a player. And you saw Cody Hakpo do it for Liverpool, right, on Friday night, where he jumps one player, he jumps another, and then he slots it in the far corner. Smith Rowe's a bit further out. But like the confidence to attempt that, I think is a really important part, considering he's dropped for Josh King in this game, right? Like that's a pretty tough thing, I imagine, for him to take, to be like, oh wow, it's not just someone in front of me who's older and has a little bit more kind of rapport with the manager as it was with Andreas. They're like, oh, they put the wonder kid in, right? I'm going to have to fight to get that spot back. So him coming on with that kind of confidence, I thought was a good thing for us. And then obviously the goal was brilliant.
Yeah. Let's come on to Rodrigo Muniz, because it looks like, and we've said it for a few weeks, we've been pretty steadfast on this, Jack, that I was always a bit unsure whether Muniz would actually go to Atalanta. Not going to lie, they made me sweat. They really, really made me sweat. I think it was like Wednesday, Thursday last week. I was like, bloody hell, I've kind of gone on a limb here to say I think he'll sign a new contract. Because I was I hovered over the delete my tweet button. I really hovered over it for a long time. I just thought, no, just back yourself. The worst thing that happens is that people call you an idiot. But it seems, John, that he might be staying. Basically, Atalanta have moved on to another striker, and therefore it seems like that demand for Rodrigo Muniz might have dried up. We don't know if he's working towards a new contract, but there were some reports today suggesting that actually Fulham are working on a deal.
I think he's so important for us. I think if we lose him late in the window, right, it just leaves us in a really vulnerable position with Raul Jimenez as the only option. And I think like Muniz, I remember I was there on his debut and he just looked so raw, and he was just like this huge presence that we all loved and got behind, but it was almost like he's got to do a
comedy,
lot.
Almost
almost like bumbling into people. We just come on for 10 minutes and have this like energy, and that was what he has. But now I really feel like he could be a Premier League like striker who can get us 15 maybe goals at his absolute best. And I think if we lose that late, it would be a big issue for us. But I don't think he's going anywhere. Like I said, with the fishing, you can't fish in Italy.
If it was Naples, I'd be more worried. Yeah. This is the thing. I think with Atalanta, and when you're looking at it,
they've gone for Krstovic, haven't they?
Yeah, they've gone for Krstovic. Yeah, in terms of if Gasperini was still there, I think they bang this through the door. I really do. I think they go to Muniz, look at what he does for strikers, look at the numbers that you get juiced on, look at all these players that have succeeded under him in that role. And I think that there's a far more compelling pitch than Ivan Juric, whose last job was taking Southampton down. Now, he's a better manager than that, but it's not been great. I think this is a worrying moment for Atalanta. And therefore, I don't think this is the time to be jumping ship to Atalanta. Like, to be honest, if this was Roma, obviously we've finished well outside the Champions League places for a while now. But under Gasperini, I'd be more worried about it in terms of one, stature of club, but two, like the idea of a pull of a manager working with you. But I do think that there's some kind of funny bits to this, in that if Rodrigo signs a new contract, it's been reported today by Miguel Delaney in The Independent, so a pretty reliable source that this is working towards the right kind of outcome from our perspective, is that I think he demands a wage and also a kind of guarantee that he's going to be given like the game time. Now, managers can't be like, oh, you play whatever. Like, that doesn't work, because that's not how squads operate. You can't guarantee for injuries, etc., all of those things. And if Raul starts the season and scores 3 hat-tricks in 3 weeks, then obviously he's going to keep the shirt. Like, that's perfectly reasonable. But I think that Muniz, being still on a kind of secondary championship striker's wage, will be changed into a proper Premier League wage. I'd imagine he'll go similar to what Raul's earning. I know it's slightly different because of the money they came in on, but that, I think, would then give him the place to be like, no, I want that shirt. I want to be the guy. And as John says, like, this is the season where he needs to assert himself as top of this pecking order, right? Like Raul and him shared duties last year. Obviously, he went on that purple patch the year before, but last year it was very much like, oh, who's fit, who's in form, and it kind of worked, right, for us from a Fulham perspective, because it meant that when one of them went out of form, we were like, wicked, we've got another one to throw in. This has to be the season that he seizes this and goes, no, that's my number 9 shirt. And Raul can play in different games. And obviously, if he goes through a great patch, fair enough. But, I want to be starting 25 Premier League games by the end of this season, injuries permitting, etc. And I think of this, if there's new contract he's signed, that's maybe the moment that allows him to actually kick on. So I'm optimistic, I think, about what this is. Look, if we... this is the weirdest deal I've seen in ages, right? So I don't know if you saw the reporting around what happened with Atalanta towards the end of this. But they basically came to Fulham and were like, right, ultimatum. We've put this £35 million on the table, which you've rejected. You've got 48 hours to decide whether you're going to take it or not. And Fulham were like, we said no. Yeah. We don't need 48 hours. Like, no. Like, as in, you come to our valuation or you don't get him. And I'm like, fine, we're going to walk away. All right, fair enough. Like, you're not in the position to be doing the ultimatum.
Yeah, I found this very strange from the whole time. And why just look? I don't.
Well, I wonder if they were like, let's see if they call their bluff. Do they need the money?
I just never really understood the whole thing with Atalanta. They got so much more money for Rodrigo than they were offering us. They clearly had money there.
That's also fair enough because Rodrigo was the top scorer in Italy last season.
Yeah,
I
get that, but they had a lot of money to spend and they weren't putting all of it into the Muniz basket. And yeah, like, no disrespect to Atalanta, Europa League champions, big club in Italy, no denying that. But like, they just never had that pull, that allure of, like, as you say, I think Roma's a great example of a club that, are not wildly successful.
Atalanta are the little engine that could, right? Like, they've punched above their weight for the last 10 years. Like, they're incredible. And this Gasperini era has been the most successful in club history, right? That's no disrespect to them. They've been incredibly well run.
It just doesn't
But
make
it's not the same as being caught. Is it? Look, to put an example, the whole Newcastle-Liverpool thing that's going on with Alexander Isak. And you'd be like, the Newcastle will be like, we won the Carabao Cup, we are in the Champions League, we're a big club. And like, I accept that from a Newcastle perspective. I'm not kind of talking down them here. I absolutely love Newcastle
but compared to Liverpool.
But like, it's chalk and cheese, right? Like, in terms of where those two clubs live in the food chain. And I think that there's only so much that unless you get there sustainably for, a decade more. I think Atalanta are slightly too small and from too small an area on the verges of Milan. Like, obviously Bergamo is a great city, a wonderful place to go, but like, it's not Milan. It's not like one of these big kind of powerhouse cities. It's very difficult to do what like a Manchester City have done, for example. And I know that there's old school history in there as well, but to re-up yourself into being one of the actual giants, you have to have a load of things going your way. And Newcastle haven't got the long-term success to do that yet. And Atalanta, I don't think, have the community to do it yet. It's like Brighton, who are an incredibly well-run club and I respect immensely. But like, even if Brighton came top 5 for 5 years in a row, do you think they would have the same pull as a Manchester United or a Liverpool? It's just a different world that they're playing in. And that, I think, is the thing that sometimes is forgotten because Atalanta have been so successful. And again, nothing but respect for the way that club has been run, put together, all of it. And especially with what the city went through during COVID. But I think losing Gasperini suggests that a new era has come, and Atalanta have been punching above their weight for the last decade under Gasperini. And what that looks like now, I think, is anybody's guess.
Yeah, it just felt to me like one of those situations where I just didn't feel like Rodrigo Muniz would be here desperate to leave. The only thing you could see from Rodrigo's point of view is, I'm still on the wages of a backup championship striker. So that does need to get fixed. And I will move to Atalanta if you don't give me, sort it out. Yeah. But it just never seemed to me like one of those where he dreamed. He played football as a young child with no shoes but an Atalanta shirt on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And hopefully the reports that you've said there are true, and that contract comes through. I mean, he deserves it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
He deserves it. That's the thing from Fulham's standpoint, where I think we can make sure that we wrap up because he's fairly young still, right? So wrap up our talents and make sure they don't get pinched by Atalanta. It's a different, like you said, it's different if Napoli come in for him. It's different if AC Milan were coming in for him. But no disrespect to Atalanta, I completely agree and echo what you're saying. They're not maybe big enough to have that pull to take him away from us at this stage. And I think there's opportunities for him at Fulham.
Not without money.
Not without money. And I think that, like we touched on a little bit, like he has a great chance now. Carlos Vinicius is left. It's him and Raul Jimenez. He can really cement himself as a Premier League striker for a team looking for a top 10 finish. And then if he wants a bigger mood, we're used to that and we can accept that maybe in 2 years, a year's time if a bigger club comes in for him.
And also, I think after Saturday, one big thing, Jack, is I remember last season, one thing that Muniz struggled with is that it was kind of Muniz got the start, didn't he? At Manchester United, and then we played Leicester, and then we played Ipswich, and he didn't score in any of those 3 games. And Muniz was suddenly under a lot of pressure, I remember, and I think a lot of it was in his head. And then Raul replaced him for that Forest game, and then Raul scored, and all of a sudden he lost his place. He lost a lot of confidence from that. There were some injury problems in there as well. He's off the mark. That monkey. Yeah,
it's a great start.
And it was also one of those goals. It wasn't a tap in. It wasn't a penalty. It was all him. It was an unbelievable bit of control and finish and poise. It was striking excellence, really, I believe, because
it's a great goal because it comes at him so quick.
Yeah,
and it's obviously like flicked off Lewis Dunk. And as much as the Lewis Dunk has got an assist here, jokes are funny.
He loves either assisting or scoring for Fulham.
Please don't take those points away from me because Harry Wilson is the only player in my FPL team that scored over 2. And also, it's just a really, really good finish because it goes back across his body. The first touch to control it and control it dead, and then just to rifle it across the keeper. It's brilliant. It's a really good goal.
And in terms of his celebration, do you read into the body language he gave off there? He held up the Fulham scarf. He had a real I'm him look about him, didn't he? He looked at the fans and he held up the scarf. I feel like, as much as we spoke about it, that is important as well. It doesn't look like a player that's going to leave. It just doesn't look like it.
He never struck me as the kind of person who'd throw his toys at the pram. I just don't think that's in his character.
No, I don't think that either. But he did. It was really interesting. It's the one thing about when you're there in the stands, and because the focus was on him, was watching him so much, even when he didn't have the ball or just as he walked onto the pitch or afterwards, and just this body language about him. He's just got an aura that he didn't used to have. His aura used to be I'm the chirpy little fun guy that occasionally
flies a kite.
Yeah, flies a kite and plays little practical jokes and does a little dance. He just walked the way he walked on the pitch, walked off the pitch, the way that he looked back at the fans when they were saying Rodrigo Muniz wanted to stay. He just had that kind of
100%.
Just, chest out, I'm the man here. And what a platform he's got now after that goal, I think, to, really have a great season. And look, let's talk next summer. Have a good season, Rodrigo Muniz, down to a new contract. Then we might be in some real fights.
Go on. There's no number 9 in this Brazil squad. Just firing. Go on.
Yeah.
I mean, he should
scored 20 goals. I know that's a massive ask, right? But scored 20 goals in the Premier League. I think you're in consideration.
Oh, massively. Oh, yeah. Well, certainly to be in the squad.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think Richarlison's already one up.
Yeah.
Go and fight that battle for a team that are going to finish probably lower in the table. Go and fight that scrap, and look, we'll just be here enjoying it while you do.
Rodrigo, not that I imagine Rodrigo Muniz had other things on his mind after the game, but he must have looked at that, gone right, 1-0, Roddy. Wait, Richarlison scored twice. Oh, and they were both. Oh, one of them was a world-class assist. Oh, for God's sake, man. All right, we're going to take a break there. Afterwards, we will look ahead to the challenge on Sunday, faced by a rejuvenated Manchester United. The 25-26 season is shaping up to be a big one for Fulham, and one thing you need ahead of it is NordVPN, the fastest VPN on the planet that allows you to watch football matches from wherever you are in the world, on either your phone, your tablet, or your laptop. For instance, you could use NordVPN to watch Premier League matches for a fraction of the price, including those 3 p.m. kickoffs that aren't available in this country. Or if you go on holiday this summer, you can use NordVPN to access your UK TV subscriptions. And right now, you can use NordVPN on up to 10 devices, which means you can share the amazing benefits that NordVPN has with your family or your friends. And you can get a great deal when you sign up to NordVPN at nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. Not only will you get a huge discount, but you'll also get 4 months extra as well. And it's entirely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So to get that special discount plus 4 free months, go to nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. That's nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. Part 2 of the Fulhamish podcast. It's Sammy here with John and Jack. Admin Corner, we're calling it. Is that its official name, Jack?
Yeah, Admin Corner. I don't know what they are, though, so you're going to have to do it.
No, absolutely. So there is a FST and MUST joint protest on Sunday at 3:15.
Is it about the fact that Manchester United fans are being allowed to buy tickets if they're members?
Is that happening?
No, I think it's an admin error.
Okay. I did see this. I did see this.
On the website, it says basically open to season ticket holders, members, and then it just says Manchester United members. You're like, yeah, it's the hospitality stuff.
Must be like a mistake.
Yeah, I think it's an admin error, but anyway, sorry.
No, I did see that. It was funny. No, it's hashtag stop exploiting loyalty photo call with the Man United Supporters Trust in Bishops Park from 3:15 on Sunday, and also Fulham Flutter season passes, all money going to the Fulham FC Foundation, still available, fulham-flutter.com, link in the description as well. Get your Flutter passes, raise some money for the foundation, who do a wonderful job in the community. That is it for Admin Corner.
Good stuff.
It was a quick Admin Corner today.
Good dude. Can we get a soundbite of the guy who used to stand outside being like, yeah, you Flutter, Fulham Flutter.
Yeah.
I think we should get that in the podcast in the future as part of the advert.
Sure, fine. Cool. We'll track him down.
You have to pay him royalties.
Can you please message if this was you
and don't sue us
and send us a voice note.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's look ahead then to United on Sunday, the Super Sunday, 4:30. Quite a way to start. Jack, I watched Manchester United versus Arsenal on Sunday. Now, United lost, but if you watched this game, Manchester United didn't deserve to lose. Like, I thought, okay, look, Arsenal put in a rearguard performance. I thought that they saw it out. One of those wins for them that might be the difference between them being properly fighting for the title and what they have been in recent seasons. But I thought United looked really, really dangerous. They seem to carve Arsenal open. And if they can do that to a team like Arsenal, they can definitely do it to a team like Fulham. I'm worried.
Yeah, I mean, look, they were good at the weekend. I don't know if they deserved to win, is probably I would say.
It was a bit much.
Unless there is an incorrect decision made. I always feel like the team that wins usually deserves to win because they've put the ball in the back of the net and you haven't.
Well, also, you had a keeper with hands made out of flour.
Yeah, but as in Arsenal didn't pick the Man United keeper, did they? No. So as in that's on them, I'm afraid. If they've decided to do that, that's definitely, you can't blame the other team for that. Look, there was really good signs from a Manchester United perspective. Obviously frustrating in terms of us playing them early, and I did think playing them early was potentially like a really good thing because United aren't quite there yet. There's a couple of pieces I still think that are really missing. I thought it was interesting the way that they set up, and I'm intrigued to see what they do at Fulham because I think there is going to be a clamour that Benjamin Šeško has to start in this game, considering that they didn't score a goal at home in the opener, that they're going to be like, right, we need to get off the mark. I wonder what that does for the midfield of this team and if Fulham can exploit that, because I think one of the really important things and one of the reasons United didn't get run over in the middle, one of the reasons that they did look good at the weekend was that Mason Mount playing in that front three basically dropped in to become an extra midfielder, which meant that the way that United set up meant that they didn't get overrun by an Arsenal trio. And if they take him out, and he's the only really logical choice to take out there if you put in Šeško, then that's Mbeumo, Cunha and Šeško. I don't think any of them are going to be chasing back and dispossessing people at left back in the way that Mason Mount was. And I wonder if that does open the door a little bit for Fulham to be able to kind of run through there, because he seems to be really incessant that it's going to be Bruno Fernandes in there. Now, Casemiro had a really good game. Can he do that twice in 7 days? I don't know. Don't know what his fitness is like these days. We'll have to wait and see. He was really impressive at the weekend. But the way that they changed this around and the way that it opens up, one of the major issues for United last year was that you could just literally ramrod straight through the heart of them because there was literally no legs in the midfield. And if Fulham, if they do change that so it's a more attacking lineup, I wonder if there is scope there for Fulham to try and take advantage of that and take control of the middle in a way that Arsenal weren't really able to in that game. And that's obviously not to say that Fulham are better than Arsenal. I just think the United changes where they go a little bit more for broke might open up an opportunity to kind of spring a counter a little bit more. But I say all this, and we know exactly what's going to happen here, is that in the 93rd minute, someone is going to score a deflected goal, and that's going to be that. So, 1-0 United.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is almost sometimes futile and pointless previewing United at home, John, because we just know what the outcome it seems to be every single season. I mean, I never forget the game last year in January, which United won.
Lisandro.
1-0.
Sandro,
that loopy goal that went into the corner.
And I remember the game before that was Garnacho. I think Maguire's done us once recently.
Well, Maguire scored in the last minute in the game we actually at Old Trafford where we kind of broke the curse.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but
they always score a late goal. against us.
Well, we're the only team in the world that seems to still have a genuine fear of Manchester United. Like, we still think it's 2005.
It's so true.
Like, we need to be more like Brighton, who I swear every time they face Manchester United, it's like 6-0 Brighton.
They're literally like, this lot are rubbish, we should beat them. And then they just go running. And we're like, so Man United.
To tell them Fergie time does not exist
anymore.
Exactly. It's not there. No, it's interesting. I saw a stat going back to Arsenal game where Arsenal, I don't think have won more than, I think they've won 4 Premier League games against Man United at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I think Arteta's won 3 of them.
Yeah.
So it is a hard fixture for Arsenal. So I think there's a lot put into this, like Manchester United are back and all this. Like, there's been a little bit too much for me where, I mean, I think you prefaced it so well. There's so many questions. We don't really know. Like, Arsenal is a big game that the players are up for. I think when I think of Manchester United and the players they've got, they get up for those big games, don't they? They look at the games that are on telly. I know this is Super Sunday, but
also
especially
first game at Old Trafford for these new players. Like, everyone was like, Cunha and Burma were really good, and they were like fine, but are they going to have that same energy coming to the Cottage? Maybe in Burma, Mike, as an ex-Brentford player, but like, is Mateus Cunha going to care about this as much as he did at the season opener against Arsenal?
Exactly.
Look, we'll find out. We'll find out.
There's so many. My thing is, there's so many questions with United, and with Marco Silva's Fulham, I don't feel like there's that many questions. I feel like I know what we're going to do. Okay, we're probably going to lose in the last minute, unfortunately. But I think I'm confident in Marco Silva being able to build a plan that beats them. And whatever they do, if they go with Sesko, and there's still going to be holes, there's going to be gaps to exploit. And I'm not scared. I'm a little scared. I just don't know. There's too many questions. I don't think we learned enough from it for me to say, I'm worried.
I think the thing for me with this new Manchester United team, or a lot of new players in this Manchester United team, but still at the heart, kind of the old core that's there, but there's just a lot of very great attacking players that have come in. I think if Fulham get an early lead, I think they're rattled. I think they're thinking, oh no. And then suddenly the pressure's on. 2 losses at the start of the season. The new era is off to a terrible start. I think if it's 0-0 at half time, and United grow in confidence that they can win it, then I think that's where Fulham have been stung by in the past, is just not really taking our chances against United when we've had spells of dominance and not really taken advantage. I think if Fulham go into a first half lead, I think the fear factor sets in.
Yeah.
And that's what Fulham can exploit, because, I mean, look, as you say, first game of the season, look, Arsenal obviously are a very, very, very good team, and no doubt we're going to have a few hairy moments of individual quality where we're going to be worried on Sunday, but we have a very, very solid team. I mean, like, we can go through the starting 11, but unless someone's come back from injury like Robinson, who I don't think will.
He's not back.
I don't.
He won't be.
I don't think he'll be
Seth
back.
Might be, but I don't think that they'll do that. I think that the only thing I think they might do, considering Šeško, might play here. And as in the thing that's perhaps the most impressive about him, he has this ludicrous turn of pace off a standing start. I wonder if they switch Cuenca and Bassi. I wonder if Bassi goes into the middle to try and deal with the kind of physical threat.
He's absolutely massive.
Yeah, he's huge.
People don't realise he's big. So you need that physical presence to.
Well, as in you'd want Anderson marking him from an aerial perspective, but if he's going to start kind of like these kind of standing start sprints, which he did to quite good effect, I thought, actually, off the bench on Sunday, then I think you want Bassi alongside him. So I wonder if that's the change that Marco makes and just subtly tweaks it so that Bassi comes inside to deal with it. Or maybe it's something that happens in game.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked if he does that just in order to open it up a little bit, and we play a slightly more kind of back 3 system that allows them to kind of.
I do think there's every possibility also that Sessegnon comes back in. He was obviously close to making it for Brighton, but not quite. It wasn't that bad an injury he picked up against Frankfurt, which maybe allows back. I do agree that maybe with the physicality of Šeško, but I think there's every chance that you're probably right that they're just gonna have to start Šeško, aren't they? They don't spend that much money and then keep playing Mason
I think
Mount
the fact that they didn't score a goal suggests that they probably have to start the £70 million number 9 that they bought.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think the pressure's going to be on. It wouldn't shock me if they didn't, because Amorim's incredibly stubborn. But I just feel that they probably will.
Yeah. In terms of other Fulham potential starters, I guess maybe one question is Rodrigo Muniz. Yeah. Do you start with him? It looks like now he hasn't signed a contract at the time of recording, but I don't know. I feel like you play strikers in form, and that was a goal. And sadly for Raul in that match, he also just didn't offer an awful lot. A lot of running, a lot of hard work, and he's a pest. But Rodrigo Muniz came on and scored a belter of a goal.
Yeah, no, I think he has to. What else can you do? If you come on and score, you've got to get a place in the team. I think so. What about Josh King? Think Josh King keeps his place?
I would be amazed if he doesn't.
He was man of the match, wasn't he?
He was man of the match.
I feel like it would be very difficult to drop him. I also think that Rodrigo Muniz starts. I think you ride the wave.
You have to.
The sentiment of this week has been, or for the last 7 days, should we just say, has been, oh my God, he might be leaving. Oh, he's on the bench. Oh, he's come on. Oh, he scored. Oh, they've walked away. Oh, he's signing a new contract. You stick him in that team. The trajectory is purely positive at the moment. You get him in that team and get him to try and ride that emotion. That's what you do there. I think Josh King starts here. The only thing I wonder is if he starts Emil Smith-Rowe on the left wing.
Yeah?
I thought it was interesting. You were obviously talking about it on Monday's podcast about Iwobi, and we have that question, can we talk about Iwobi? I thought he was fine at the weekend. I really did. I thought, and Pierce actually argued it really well about the fact that there was the 2 slide balls, and actually the best chances we created until that 90th minute were both made by Alex Iwobi. And he is the only kind of player that I believe in this Fulham side is going to pick a ball up and score a goal out of nothing. He's just the only player that we have that does that. And Harry maybe, but Harry was very, very quiet.
And I was very sad by that because I really thought this was going to be Harry Wilson's moment. But there's time.
That's fine. You can have it this week. We'll take it. It's fine. No worries. We play Brentford in a couple of weeks anyway, so that'll cheer him up. I think that he might. Obviously, we saw Emil Smith-Rowe play out there in pre-season games. I wonder if he just goes with that again. I wonder if he looks to try and, especially considering that United play with a back 5, right, or a back 3 with 2 wing backs, there is potentially space in that area for a player who's a little bit more. And look, this could apply to both Iwobi and Smith-Rowe, so it's not necessarily. It's quite like for like change, I think. Yeah. But in terms of someone who just drifts a little bit in those areas and gets in around the defenders as opposed to pinning a man, I wonder if there's a space for one of those to become a real thorn in the side. And I think probably on both sides, because I think Harry will have to do a little bit more defensive work in that Dorgu will fly forwards. But I think that there is potentially space to exploit in both of those channels if you can get at them.
Yeah, I agree. It feels quite important that Smith-Rowe this year gets off to a good start. It feels like that 40 million last year, and it was fine. It wasn't terrible in my opinion, but I think he needs some game time. You're on the bench against Brilliant on the bench and you're not performing. I feel like it's throw him in a big game, see what he can do early. And if he can score a goal, if he can drag us to a good result, that's a huge confidence booster for a player that we need to get the most out of.
Yeah.
So I can see Smith-Rowe maybe coming in.
I wonder if they do that thing that they did in pre-season where King and Smith-Rowe just sort of switch positions. That kind of drifting role, because I think Josh King getting out into those spaces and attacking the gaps is also something that might pay off, considering how well he moves with the ball, and that kind of litheness makes him really difficult to pick up. I do wonder if there's something in kind of having them as a rotating piece, which he didn't do quite as much with Iwobi out there, which I thought they might, but they didn't really.
This is one of those where I feel like quite often we do this on the podcast where I think it's a lovely idea, but I don't think Marco will do it.
Yeah, no,
I just feel like he's going to stick pretty tried and trusted, but I think he might. I don't think he'll be able to resist Muniz.
Kevin might start.
Well, yes.
Come on, Kevin.
That would be a turn up for the books. And maybe the only other option, obviously, if you wanted to get Bassi into the side, is you could put Timothy Castagna at left back. And he did come on at left back, Castagna, and actually was relatively okay. I mean, he didn't have much opportunity to do too much when he came on, but I thought he looked comfortable at left back. He got forward, and that is the other option, which is harsh on Cuenca.
It's all a bit much of a muchness, isn't it?
Yeah.
As in, you could kind of line up with any of these back lines. I think that Calvin has to be centre back if they do play Šeško. I feel like that's going to be a really important part of the physical battle. But if they don't, but it doesn't really matter then to me who plays left back. With Robinson out, Castagna, Cuenca, Sessegnon would be more of a statement of intent that we're going to try and get forward and pin the fullbacks or the wing backs. But I think it is a bit of a shrug.
Much for muchness. Well, look, we'll see if we can avoid the usual curse of Manchester United at home. Marco's broken several curses in his time, so maybe this is another one that
this and Turf Moor.
Yeah, they're the two for this season. Manchester United at home, and please God, a win up at Turf Moor. Want to come on to a talking points that me and Jack actually were discussing just before the pod, but we haven't given you any brief on this.
No brief.
But there's been a little
thinking time. Is okay.
There's been a bit of a trend on social media, and we saw you guys do this on your podcast, so we were keen to bring it onto the table here of having a Fulham Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And we were debating how to do this, whether it should be a Fulham Mount Rushmore in our lifetimes, but I thought maybe collaboratively the four of us could do an all-time Fulham Mount Rushmore. But maybe just to add a bit of variety, it should be like one from each kind of, let's say, era. Decade maybe, but like decades do cross over a little bit.
Players and manager, or just players?
I think it can be players and manager. Fulham Mount Rushmore, it can be anything.
I love it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I mean, I think there's one spot that's like completely obvious, which is Johnny Haynes.
Johnny Haynes, obviously, first name.
He's the first name on the mountain.
Gordon Davis, Fulham's all-time top goal scorer, 2 spells at the club, like different era as well, because he obviously was in the 80s.
Yeah,
I think you have to have either in there.
Okay, so I think Len, the final two have to be modern day-ish, just to vary it up.
90s and 2000s, shall we say?
Yeah,
one from each.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we can put in some names into the hat and who we pick.
Simon Morgan, Mr. Fulham.
Yeah, Tom Kearney.
Yeah, modern Mr. Fulham.
I think Tom Kearney for me has to be in there.
That
Wembley goal.
Roy Hodgson. And then you've got all the kind of like class of 01.
Cookie.
Yeah, Steed. Louis Burmore. I don't think Steed is in there. I think he's great, Steve Malbronk, but I think it's not that we're talking too high level.
I think the bar at this is you have to be like a legitimate club legend.
Because I've got Dempsey for the chip, but
like I think that feels like we'll do one in a minute. We'll switch this double. We'll do this and then we'll do our personal ones, of kind of like our lifetimes. That feels like like a lifetime one, as opposed to like a long term. Yeah. I said Sean Davis earlier, but I think the answer is Simon Morgan from the 90s. Like the last player to be given a testimonial at Fulham.
See,
his name was Mr. Fulham. That's what he was known as around the club.
I think Sean Davis, though, for me, just the whole 4 divisions thing puts him higher, just slightly. I mean, an incredibly high bar.
Shawnee would be in my personal one because I remember Shawnee far more than I remember Simon Morgan.
Are we agreed that Hodgson isn't there?
I have to have Hodgson.
I think you're talking about the best manager for Fulham, as in the best Fulham manager in my lifetime. But I don't know, like, would someone argue that, I don't know, Alex Stock was in there for taking Fulham to the FA Cup final?
Yeah, but I think we have kind of, I feel like...
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of covered, yeah.
If we're going to have different eras.
Really, the 75 team isn't really covered by this.
No.
So, I mean, but yeah, okay, if we've done Cohen, we haven't done Cohen.
We haven't done Cohen. Yeah.
Cohen's the same era as Haynes, so you've got to pick one of them, and I think it's probably Haynes.
Yeah,
one of them has a statue, one of them has a stand.
Yeah, and a statue.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Statue, yeah.
That's a fair point, but like the point stands.
Yeah,
like I think I think them two are locks. I think Gordon Davis and Johnny Haynes are locks.
Okay,
top scorer, and like the person who kind of like immortalized the club. Then I think you have. I think for me it would be Simon Morgan and then Roy Hodgson. I think that's the 4.
Roy Hodgson's definitely on mine.
If it's Roy Hodgson, I think the problem is that you have to have someone from that 90s era, because obviously that's the like kind of rocket fuel bit, right? Like where Fulham went from the bottom.
Yeah, but that's why I think it could be Sean Davis instead of Simon Morgan there instead, just because it covers the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think people will disagree with you of that era, but we weren't really of that era.
That's the thing, yeah.
Okay, let's move on though to
personal ones.
Jack, do you wanna hit us off?
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to say in my lifetime.
These are in our lifetime.
The players I would pick, and I'm going to try and use the same criteria, like players who like were legendary at Fulham, not like your Dimi Berbatovs, who was like unbelievable, obviously, but like his best years were spent elsewhere. So I'm going to say Tom Kearney. I'm going to say Steed Malbronk. I'm going to say Sean Davis. And I'm going to say Steve Finnan.
Steve Finnan?
Yeah, Steve Finnan, best right back this club's ever had, bar maybe George Cohen. All right, I'll give him that one. But I remember watching Steve Finnan. And look, Steve Finnan was my favourite player growing up, so there is a level of personal love about this one, right? Like he was mine. I when I was a mascot, I went out and like walked out with him, etc. Like it was a real thing. And obviously, there's the whole Irish thing as well. But like,
that's my only thing. You've only put him in there because you couldn't.
No.
Damien Duff didn't quite do enough.
But also, all four of those players had their best years at Fulham. Their best part of their career was spent at Fulham. Like the bit where they hit the highest kind of personal level, not necessarily in terms of achievements. Steve Finnan has a Champions League medal, but like he was
something he particularly likes being not a particularly fond memory.
But like in terms of like he was a bit part player, right, for Liverpool. Like he was Fulham's right back. Now I tell you, there was maybe in the like 7 years I watched Steve Finnan at the Cottage, I think there was one player I watched tie him in knots, and that was Ryan Giggs in Ryan Giggs' pomp. And like, I can accept that. I can accept that. Everyone else, he stood up to be counted week in, week out. He was like a bastion of this Fulham team. I thought Steve Finnan was absolutely unbelievable. I'm putting him in.
Okay. I don't have a single person on my Mount Rushmore that's on your Mount Rushmore, which I enjoy.
Wow. Good.
John, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I've got a few of the same. I'm definitely going TC because just that Villa goal and yeah, for me, he's 10 years at the club now. Like, he has to be there. I weirdly have Clint Dempsey on a modern day one, just for that Juventus, just that moment. It's just so iconic to me.
Also, Fulham's top ever Premier League goalscorer.
Yeah.
Like that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. It's weird with Clint because sometimes like he spent so many years on the sidelines before eventually kind of having his, like, even though he's remembered for the Juventus chip, he wasn't actually a great player in that Europa League run. He was actually mostly a substitute. It was actually the years following the Europa League where he had his best football for Fulham, but he's iconic.
Yeah, definitely. He is. I'll go Sean Davies. And then I wanted to say, a little bit me wants to say Mitrovic.
I agree with you on this.
Do you?
Yes.
There you go. It's a weird one because of, I guess it's a weird one, but like what he's done for us recently, the goals, I mean, the championship scoring, how many goals did he score in the champ? Was it
43 in the one season?
43 goals. I mean, just
the top scorer in the championship.
We're talking
last
modern
season.
day. Like if we were doing our Roy Hodgson managers are on there, we go back. But modern day for me, I think he's on mine.
Yeah,
I think he's on mine.
Yeah, he's on mine. I just have to have Alexander Mitrovic. I have rarely loved a player more in my lifetime than Alexander Mitrovic. I was obviously heartbroken the way he left.
Yeah,
and it still stings, but. I don't know. Time's a great healer, and it's real. I'm so healed on Alexander Mitrovic.
Would you have him back?
Yeah, come home, kid.
I'd have him back.
Would you actually?
It would. Okay.
Would you pay £30 million to sign Alexander Mitrovic?
No, I do that deal that I saw the other day where Al Hilal were going to pay us we're going to pay him 25 million to come
that's
back
a good
to
deal.
Fulham.
Well, like, we'll get a coupon.
Yeah.
What is this? That's not going to happen. Like, as in, like, but seriously, if we got him for free, but like you had to double our current highest earner to bring him back in, would you take it?
It's not my money.
No, I know, but it completely it would obliterate our wage structure. Like so much of this. Also, it would kill us in a year's time when this new system comes in. Like,
I wouldn't sacrifice the structure we've got behind the scenes at the club.
I wouldn't bring him back in.
But in a dream scenario, if he could come in and not disrupt the ecosystem, I'd have.
Like, you've had the money now. Come back in for free, pal.
Yeah. Also, if he could come in and like settle for being like second choice behind Muniz or something like that and coming on after 60 minutes.
But the fan base wouldn't accept that. Like if you had Alexander Mitrovic on the sideline like waving to everyone, they'd be like, get that dude on the pitch now. He's going to fight someone.
No, I've got Mitrovic in there because the memories are just too strong and time's a healer. I've got Louis Boamorte because he was always my favourite, and you double up with the fact that he came back and was a wonderful assistant coach under Marcus Silva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
future
I
manager.
have a personal one in here that I know you're going to disagree with. Danny Murphy.
Ugh.
I thought about Danny Murphy. I thought about it.
Portsmouth is ingrained in my mind.
I did think about it.
And it was a great day.
And he was the captain of our Europa League team. I just think that there's something, and
carried by Dixon Atuhu.
I've got Danny in there. I don't get players on the back of my shirt. I just never have. I always think it dates the shirt, and I like to have it. But he's the only one because I promised whoever scored the winning goal that saved us from relegation that season, I would get on the back of my shirt. And Danny,
that's a great one to have as well. That season shirt with Murphy on the back.
That's perfectly acceptable. Yeah.
And then I've got Roy. I think there's no way that Roy can't be on this, and he will only be eroded from Mount Rushmore if Marcus Silva wins a trophy.
Yeah, I think you could almost do a managerial one in itself. So I think I'm quite happy with it just being players, but I take your point.
Yeah, all right.
I saw Ollie put on his Crystal Palace one. He put Steve Parish, and I was like, right, okay, this has gone too far.
Yeah, that is a bit too far, is it? Utter woke nonsense.
Let him know I said that. As well.
I will. I'll tell him.
Not having chairman on a Mount Rushmore, never, unless you literally saved the club from oblivion. Which
to be fair, Steve Parish did.
Maybe. Yeah. All right. That will do for Fulhamish today. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. John, thanks so much for coming on.
Guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, love the show. So really, really is an honour to be on. Thank you.
We'd love to have you back on again whenever you're free.
Anytime, yeah.
And check out the Nearly Men podcast out in all the best podcast apps, I assume.
That's right, it is. Yeah, it's everywhere. I don't know where it goes. It goes on some platforms and people listen to it.
What's the topic on episode 1?
Episode 1, we just had an Arsenal fan on and we discussed the nearliness of Mikel Arteta's Arsenal and will they break it this season? Okay. And is it still a success under him? And yeah, it was good. We had Rory Talks Football on. It was good. Yeah, it was enjoyable.
Great. Well, we'll put a link in the description of the podcast and on the YouTube channel. So do check out the podcast. The other JC around here, Jack Collins, thank you very much.
Thank you. As Freddie Cooper said at the start of the thing, it was like when Kyle Walker and Kyle Walker Peters came in. Like JC and JCC. I was like, we're all in business. So shouts out Freddie.
Yeah, and given that Jack Kelly is a guest on next week's Thursday Club, it's just very, very, very confusing around here. Thank you very much for getting involved in today's show. And let's hope we can break the hoodoo against Manchester United. You whites.
You whites.